This is your amendment, Fred, so you'll be explaining it, okay?
I'm born ready.
The regular meeting of the Annapolis City Council will be called to order on Monday, June 8th at 9:30 or reconvened. Oh, geez. Lost you. How we doing?
Okay. My turn?
Yes, if you're going to move, we adjourn, Fred.
We're moving to amendment number 15, the Pound Amendment. Could somebody please move that?
I'll move it.
Can I get a second? And can we get some clarification, Alderman Pound?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I did this over the weekend because I was told that if I was filing for the constant yield, the 0.7165, that I had to find $1.6 million in cuts to the budget. So I went to work. The first reduction was a 10% salary cut for 6 months for exempt employees who earn $100,000 or more. The second part was reducing Mike's going to kill me. Reducing contract services in the Office of Law by $10,000. Reducing contract services in planning and zoning by $24,800. Well, we already did the one about the police department. Reduced seasonal salaries and benefits in the recreation and parks pool division. There's just under $200,000 set aside for to pay employees, seasonal employees at the pool. Well, it's not going to open before the 1st of July. So I took, roughly 20%, and it was a little bit more than that, but not much, and said, hey, I think, if the pool's only going to be open, if it's going to be closed a third of the summer, then we ought to at least be able to save 20% or close to it of the salaries. And that was the main reason for that. I did accept the Harbor Master's office from this because the seasonal help play a key role there in docking and collecting fees and doing other things. So I did accept them from that. I also, reduced the landscaping in parks and recs by $15,000, $10,000 for the landscaping materials, $5,000 for repairs and maintenance. The repairs and maintenance was about $75,500, and I just reduced it to $70,000. I thought that was a reasonable amount of money in a tough year. Let's see. I moved to reduce benefits for employees across the board. It's $605,000, and I will move to knock $25,000 off of that. These seem like reasonable amounts, particularly the part about the rec and park seasonal employees. I mean, we didn't have summer sports. We didn't have, don't have camps for the most part. There may be a couple, but they're greatly reduced. And apparently, believe it or not, we kept paying the folks there, which is commendable if you can afford to do that in a private business, but it's the taxpayers' money. Apparently, they were put to work cleaning the Pip Moyer Center. Ross, for the custodial staff plus about 20 seasonal people that work there, you and I ought to be able to have lunch with Rob and eat off the shower room floor. I mean, that's how clean it ought to be with that much time and that many people. And it's nothing to me that's largely, well, I'm not going to use the term waste of money, but I don't see how that money was really well spent in that regard. Questions?
Alderman Arnett was first, then Alderman Gay. Anyone else?
So I guess I'm a little confused. I see $775,000 here, not $1.5 million. Is there a big missing piece? I'm looking at the italicized stuff at the end, and when I add it up, unless I'm missing something, I get 774.3.
The total for all of them?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Part of that is the fact that we already have a substantial amount of turnover in the police department, and we've taken that off of the net impact.
So you took that off the board, basically?
Okay. That explains
That's
it.
part of it, but that's not the whole thing, and I haven't gone through and added up the pieces.
No, that would explain it. That's about the right.
That's most of it, yes.
Yeah, that's about the right amount.
And can these cuts be done without going to the union? Can anyone explain that to me?
Well, most everybody were contract employees that I was dealing with. The summer help were not regular employees. The 10% off the top over $100,000 are exempt. I checked, and in at least the what we got with the finance committee, I got a list of about front and back of about 10 pages of city employees, and it listed who was union, which union, and for every one of these it said exempt. So I assume, Mr. Mayor, if you appointed them, the union doesn't have much to do with how much they make. You do. Well, the city manager. I mean, it's not the union. It's not union wages that they're getting. So yes, I think that I don't think the unions should be a factor in these.
So if I could continue, Fred, these are cuts over and above what it would take to bring the mayor's proposed budget into balance. This is over and above the 2% turnover exchange. So
this was totally on my own because I had to come up with close to $1.6 million in cuts if I were going to put in for the 0.7165 per 100 tax rate. And a couple of them may seem a little bit random, but they were the ones that I thought were a little bit random were fairly small, and it seemed to have large numbers for the purpose that they were there for. And, taking $5,000 off of repair and maintenance out of a $75,000 bill, I don't think it will be missed, to be honest with you.
So I guess I wonder, Mr. Jarrell, as city manager, how this fits with your view of operations for fiscal year 21.
So let me start and just go down the list. So I'm a little bit surprised because most of the places I've been, there's a lot of respect for the senior leadership in the city or county. And they aren't targeted for sort of arbitrary pay cuts just because they happen to be the senior people in the city. I think we should respect those. I think they're all very hardworking people who every day earn the money that they make, even though it seems like it's higher than most employees. That they have capabilities that are above most, and that's why we've hired them to be department directors. On the Rec and Park, it sounded like the description that was being given was for for these past several months of operations in Rec and Park. The cuts that we're talking about are for FY21, so they start July 1st. So all of those things that have happened during the COVID thus far don't really pertain to FY21. The pool's going to be open by July, and programs are going to be starting back up. And so I think we need to look forward to what staffing we're going to need for FY21. So that's several of these. I'm not sure what contract services are being proposed for planning and zoning or for the Office of Law. And we've already taken the cuts from the police department. So I think that is probably the third time we've counted that.
You can forget about that one, Mr. City Manager. I'm not pursuing that.
And these are all departments that have already put forward 10% of cuts. Is that right, Dave?
I don't think
provided 10% cuts for their non-salary and benefits budget.
Alderman Payan still has the floor. Sorry. Alderman Payan? Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, the reason why I didn't randomly or take lightly picking exempt people making over $100,000. Every time we have to furlough people, lose jobs, whatever, and it hasn't happened often, but it has happened and probably will happen in the future. It's always the little guy that ends up losing his or her job, and nobody's exempt from this. The people who make a lot of money, it's 5% over next year. It's not a lot. It's not a ton of money. No, I mean, I like to take home every penny I can, even of the 15,000, I might add. But I'm not unsympathetic, but we haven't done furloughs. We haven't done layoffs. We didn't do any of those things. We've got a budgetary problem. I was amazed that there were as many people that make as much money. By the way, there were a number of people that were not exempt that make well over $100,000. Didn't touch them. That's not who we're talking about. I tried to avoid, anybody that might be in a union that would complicate matters. Nothing. I know that Alderwoman Finlayson, I know how she feels about unions, and I understand that. But
about employees.
Well, in this case, it's about employees that make an awful lot of money, and I'm just asking to get for 6 months 10% back. You want to make it 5% all year? That's okay. It's the same thing, and the savings is relatively significant. I mean, I can't tell you how many people off the top of my head make over 150,000, but they're more than one or two. And more power to them. But I just think in light of other companies, other governments laying people off, not paying unpaid furloughs, things like that, I just think it's a reasonable amount of money. And I'm tired of the little guys paying the price when things like this happen. That's it.
Jody, did you have some clarification? Then we'll go to Alderman Gay.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on a couple things. I mean, we have it just, although it sounds like, for instance, on the repair and maintenance cut, it may sound like a lot to somebody, but I can tell you that when they prepare their budget and they do repair and maintenance, they have a list of things that they have to pay for repair and maintenance that we have followed very carefully as to whether or not they actually spend it during the year in order to give it to them. We have combed through this pretty carefully. So we might want to hear from the departments before we cut contract services by 10,000, the Office of Law, planning, zoning by 25. And I'm most concerned with a 25,000 reduction to benefits in the transportation fund. So when we have our list of employees and we calculate benefits, they're pretty zeroed in on what the benefits are. I mean, some of them are based on estimates if they're vacancies, but everything else is a real cost, and I don't know what it relates to. So I'm not sure how that could be saved. So I don't know what that intended cut was for, but if it's not a part of the salary piece, and we we included the FICA and the pension, and when we took those salary cuts out, so the benefit line, I'm not sure what that would be.
Well, you can forget the police, and I'll even forget that particular section. It's not a lot of money. Mr. Mayor, I would like that these to be voted on individually because they're different cuts.
It's one amendment. It's got to be. Well, I'll let Regina speak.
It has to be all or none.
Can we leave some out or not? Now it's written.
Well, I'll leave those two out. I just wanted to vote on the rest of them. The police we've already taken care of or not taken
We
care
can't
of.
amend the amendment, Alderman Pound.
Nope.
The last one, reduce benefits by 25,000. I'm willing to walk away from that one, Mr. Mayor. And actually, the one before that, I don't really know why that's there. It's a continuation of the 10% for half a year for exempt employees making more than 100,000. So the last two and the one regarding the police vacancies, we don't have to go forward on.
So we will have to vote on the whole thing, Alderman Pound, because we can't amend it. So we're going to make a decision on that. Alderman Gay?
Well, can I get an opinion from Mr. Lyles?
Yeah, that's correct. You can't amend the amendment. It's all or nothing on this document as we have.
Why can't I just take them one at a time? I mean, some of these may not be acceptable, some of them are.
Because that's not the structure of the amendment. The structure of the amendment includes all of them as I'm reading it, and it's been publicized to the public like that, and that's how it's been factored in by the finance department.
That's not the way I submitted it, but
Oh,
that's the
I'm
way
sorry.
to do it.
I just know what I'm looking at. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Alderman Gay?
Yeah, thanks. So the first, I obviously agree with you on. In total, through this in the transportation fund, it'd be $211,000, I think, or something like that. So yeah, and to the point that David made, that these people have worked hard for their money, and so has the average worker. The difference is that these people have a little extra to throw away, not the average worker.
You don't know that. We don't know what their personal financial situation is. I mean, that's just out of line to say that they have money to.
Well, I think it's out of line. I think it's out of line to say that these people worked hard for their money. They got experience. Okay, and the other people are trying just as hard. They just make a little bit less. I agree with Fred. We can't go after the little person. To reduce contract services in the Office of Law by $10,000. That wouldn't affect you overwhelmingly, would it, Mike? I'm sorry, Mr. City Attorney. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, the issue is for me, it probably wouldn't be 10,000 on any one contract. It would probably be me trying to negotiate rates down or reducing the amount of work that I get from outside counsel in several areas, which means that our office would pick up the work, which is no problem. That's what we want to do. But it's the transition to that. I would have to work it in. It's not as easy because one of the things that we have with lawyers, one of the contracts, for instance, about $10,000, but the lawyer provides all of the conflict work for all of the boards and commissions. So if I were to say, just cut that out, then we don't have lawyers for these boards and commissions that meet, and they need legal advice that we can't provide because we're on the other side of the case in many instances. The other legal services are like bond counsel. There are some labor negotiation counsel that we have who are all getting kind of separate pockets of money. So it would probably be a mix of me renegotiating rates and cutting some of the services.
Okay. So that's kind of bad. And then for the fifth one down, reduces seasonal salaries and benefits in recreational park. And I do agree with David on this, actually. I think this should stay because everything is starting to open back up, especially the pool and all. And I would hate for it to be understaffed. But everything else, you kind of got my.
Alderman Tierney had a hand up next.
Yeah. Well, I want to commend my colleague for attempting this list because I do agree, and we've kind of glossed over this, is that we have salary and benefits that are growing at 8.3% year over year before the reductions and all. So that's a big problem for the city, and I think this is just sort of a dent in attacking that. However, my concern is the last minute approach, because I go to finance committee meetings, the departments present, and in fairness to the departments, did you see anything in Parks and Recs during their presentation that's why you went after this certain bucket of money? I mean, does it correlate to the finance committee review? Because as our colleague Alderman Arnett said, he said it was the best year yet for all the department presentations, but now we're cutting their numbers. So explain that logic to me so I can understand how to vote.
Alderman Peone?
Yeah, well, I have, through the audit committee, studied a few things with Rec and Parks. We're not able quite yet to make the audit results public. It's nothing shocking or anything like that, but I have studied Rec and Parks quite a bit. I did not think that their presentation, for whatever it's worth, was one of the better ones we had. I think that they've got so many more employees than they need right now, in my opinion. I mean, I've been out there. They've got 6 and 7 people at a front desk where most clubs have 1 or 2. I could go on and on. I'm not out to get anybody. Quite the opposite. I'm very fond of Mr. Trader, and I love our Pitt Moyer Center. I just want it to run more efficiently.
City Attorney, you had something?
By the way, I do have a solution for the pool opening up on July 1. The city manager is absolutely correct, but we should have been saving money since March the 14th, when the governor basically closed everything down. That's a full 3 months. We ought to have a little bit of money in the bank from that, Mr. Mayor, and therefore we shouldn't need quite as much for the pool. That's my reasoning for that.
Mr. City Attorney, did you have something?
No, never mind, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Finlayson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I find these recommendations insulting. They are arbitrary recommendations. Several people on this call tonight are the ones that you're targeting in this amendment. And David said it beautifully. I too thought we had greater respect for the folks who are doing the work and the people who have the greatest experience in our city. But instead, you want to punish them, and you don't know what their conditions are, as you shouldn't, because they have earned the salaries that they are getting. And those salaries have accumulated over time. Now, Alderman Gay, you're young and you still have lots of opportunities to get to the level that we're talking about. But Alderman Peone, you've been there. And I have to wonder how you would feel had someone in the leadership in the county said, and by the way, we're going to take 10% of your salary. I'm sure you would not have appreciated that effort. And we went through some tough times when we were both working for the county. So, but we're not willing to put ourselves in the shoes of our employees, and we should. And we should. They are doing the work, regardless of the level. They are doing the work. So what should our next steps be? should we not hire and entice people with the best and brightest experiences to bring to our city? Or should we get rid of those people who have a great deal of experience and knowledge about our city, drive them out? You know, what kind of city are we talking about?
That was my attempt at being.
You know, we should be ashamed to be having this discussion right now. I'm done.
That was next.
Alderman Gay had his hand up first, then Alderman Arnett,
Thank you.
and Alderman.
You know, I hate to be an employee listening to this call that makes like $50,000, because when you say that, you know, these people have worked hard for their money, no doubt about that. And I commend them for that. And as you mentioned, I am young and one day I would hope to be there. But I'd also understand that as you've asked others to defer payment or to take possible cuts, why could they not? Why are they exempt from the same thing? Because they worked a little harder? Because they, you know, I just don't get that mindset that because they have established themselves that it makes them exempt from making a commitment to the city. It's not long term. It's 6 months. I don't mean that to be disrespectful to anyone who makes over $100,000 and would be included in this. But I think that if we ask anyone else to make the sacrifice, they should be included in that as well. And mentioned 18 meetings ago, Sheila, I said to lead by example that you could take the $15,000. I'm just throwing it out there because you said that, you know, it should be all across the board. I agree. It should be all across the board. If we're going through this series of time and we are asking individuals to make cuts, it should be everybody.
Well, let me answer that, because it isn't everybody. This amendment does not speak to everybody. It speaks to the seniors in our city employ.
This particular amendment doesn't speak to everybody, but almost every other amendment we did was speaking to cutting in some way, shape, or form, or taking resources away even from individuals who make less.
It does not. It does not.
We've discussed. So we have discussed.
We have discussed it, but it does not. There hasn't been an amendment that has passed that would deny anyone's salary.
We should get some order here.
We've discussed it, and I thought mentioned earlier it could be brought up in the future.
Duran has the floor.
And so when the time comes, we should deal with everybody equally.
Okay, thank you. David Gerald, I'm going to get the city manager to give some clarification here, please.
So when we put together the budget reductions at the beginning of this whole exercise, we tried to be equitable to everybody and take and reduce the COLA across the board. And that would have been equitable. And again, by the way percentages work, so it was a 3%. So the way percentages work is the people that make the higher salaries would have a much bigger net cut than the people on the bottom, as we talked about, the lower salaries. They're certainly not on the bottom. There are hardworking employees, but because of the way a percentage works, but because we weren't able to get agreement from the unions on that, we weren't able to proceed and move ahead with that. So that would have been the optimal solution is across the board, everybody takes the same reduction. What we're left with now is a 10% cut just for those people that don't have representation and we don't have to negotiate with, which doesn't necessarily, to me, seem like the right approach to take. It sends a very negative message to our senior people about the value that the city council places on those employees.
You get Mr. City Attorney to weigh in, please.
Yes, yes, and I think also, again, with legislation, legislators are in some ways falling into the executive in order to satisfy some of these. So in my recommendation or my advice is that to look at these as a reduction in the salary and wage benefit line item which is being requested. The city manager has the authority under the code and the charter to then figure out how to meet the number. For the council to suggest that it has the authority to deal with every individual person's salary, I think is a little overstep from the code and charter responsibility to deal with the line appropriation. And so it may be a little in advance of what has to happen. The city manager is going to take 2016 out of salary and wages for exempt employees in various categories, and that could be in a lot of different ways. He could probably facilitate that, but it may be it'll have to be up to the city manager to do under his authority.
Alderman Payon has his hand up, and then we'll go to
Wait. Wait. You
put your hand down.
I'm the Italian here.
Alderman Arnett, go for it.
Go ahead.
All right. So I understand that it's been a long day. We're tired. This is complicated. I don't think we need to go after each other. I don't think we need to be insulted. I think there's enough insult to go around. I think taxpayers can be insulted that we're not cutting back on expenditures the way they would like us to, and certainly remind us. I'm not particularly a fan of unequal cuts. I liked the proposal that the city manager came up with, but we didn't get that. We did not get that across the board kind of cut. But I think that we really do have to be even-handed here. Our taxpayers have a right to be insulted too. They're not being considered. They're not seeing their taxes go down. We voted against that earlier today, and they're wondering, when are we going to start coming up with some cuts? This is an effort by Alderman Payon. I know how hard he worked on, because he kept calling me while he was working on it. But we do have to, some point, we are going to have to figure out that we're going to have to cut where the big money is. And the big money is in compensation. And every time we dance around and cut contracts more, yeah, that's compensation for people in the private sector, but that's not the compensation that's driving the city budget. That's not the compensation that is growing 3 times as fast as our revenues are growing. And we cannot forestall this. And we do have to have empathy for the people we represent, as well as for the employees. David, I take what you said to heart. I don't like going after people who earn more money, but I also take to heart what Dewan and Fred said. It is those people, the last time when we had experience with it, that did get it in the neck. It wasn't any senior people. It was a lot of the people who were earning low amounts of money. I guess I'm getting to the point, though, I'm wondering what amount of money we're even talking about anymore. It seems like it's getting whittled back and whittled back. I have no idea anymore how much savings we're talking about if we all voted in favor of this amendment.
Can I let Alderman Rodriguez speak? And I mean,
yes.
We're going around in circles here. Let's just vote on this, please, and get it off the table. Alderman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate the efforts Alderman Payon is giving it, but I don't agree with this amendment or the approach. First, the reason, as Alderman Payon said, for these proposed cuts is in the event that his tax decrease passed. And so there's no real legitimate need to pass this except for political or as an example to the constituents, as Alderman Arnett was saying in terms of that. But it's my understanding that there have been cuts, the reductions for each department, non-salaries, not benefits, but amounts of the budget. So the mayor's plan B, which added more savings, and also Alderman Savage's amendment number A added additional cost saving measures. So we are taking steps and efforts to do that. The employees that are targeted here, also includes, as Alderman Pound used the term, the little guys. I mean, I see reduces seasonal salaries and benefits in the Recreation and Parks Pool Division, and reduces seasonal salaries and benefits in all other Recreation and Parks divisions by 10%. Reduces contract services in Recs and Park for landscaping materials and repairs and maintenance. So and as Alderman had said, I mean, the amount maybe, you've agreed to take out the police cuts, the transportation cuts. If you don't want to go after the little guys, then also the Parks and Recs cuts. And by the end, the amount of saving that isn't necessarily even that significant but it does send a very strong and I think negative message that outweighs the cost savings that you're going out for. So one, I don't think they're required, and I'm not going to vote for it.
I'm going to call the question on this. Okay, everyone, we are going to vote on this, please. The Payon amendment, amendment number 15. All those in favour of this, say aye with a show of hands.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Did you get that, Regina?
Can't hear you, Regina. You're on mute.
Okay. No.
Attorney?
Yes.
Yes. Alderman
Aye.
Alderman Kendall Charles?
No.
Alderman Mason?
No.
No.
Alderman Rodriguez?
No.
Alderman Gay?
Yes.
Alderman Savage?
No.
Alderman Arnett?
Yes.
The motion is defeated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Fred,
The
if you
motion
want
is
to piece
defeated
some of that
5-4.
up, I'll go with you. I'll work with you on that.
I'm sorry.
If you want to piece some of that up, I'll work with you on that. I didn't like the Rex cut, but some of that stuff I'll work with you on if we need it to that point.
We can talk.
Okay, let's move on to amendment number 16. This has just come in. Alderman Savage amendment. Do you have it, Alderman Savage?
I do. I move for adoption of amendment, Savage Amendment 16.
Do we have a copy of this?
It's over email.
Or been
Second.
emailed to you?
It's a second. Do you mind if I jump in?
Yep, please, Alderman Savage.
Yeah, so this, it's a version of the amendment, whatever it was earlier that we had, where I tried to apply a salary freeze to all employees. But again, we can't do that to the union employees without breaching contract. So what this does is it essentially freezes salaries. So no step increase, no COLAs for a year for non-reps. Again, because we can't touch the unions in this regard. So again, it's less than ideal, but I think it's important to, again, as I've said before, spread the sacrifice. My residents my constituents were not too happy with a tax increase unless they were that's what they see as their sacrifice, unless that was spread out. And in this regard, and again, I used to be a non-rep. I still am a non-rep, different jurisdiction. And this is similar to what's being proposed in the county in terms of the freeze on no COLAs. But again, the county is giving a bonus, and I'll get into that in a moment. But I do think the reason to pass this is for a number of reasons, two primary ones, and that's to reduce spending before what could be a very bad year next year.
Sorry, Alderman Savage, we have to get this on the floor. Is that what you want, Regina?
Yes.
Sorry.
No,
you
you don't
down?
have a second.
It
I
was
did.
seconded
I
by
seconded it.
Ross did. That's why I started talking.
I'm
Sorry.
sorry, didn't
Thank you.
see
Sorry.
didn't see it.
It's all right. So again, I do think this is an important year to do it because even the CDC is saying it's likely that COVID is going to return in the fall. We're worried it's going to impact our revenues even more next year. And I kind of want to set us up this year to take some what I think are reasonable reductions to avoid having to do layoffs. Again, I lived through layoffs. I don't want to have to do that to anybody. I think this reduces the chances of that. And I would have preferred to do this to all employees. But it's also helps to address not the structural deficit necessarily, but the structural imbalance, which I mentioned, where our expenditures, our staff expenses are growing faster than our revenue. We need to kind of hit the brakes while we figure out an answer to that question, answer to that problem. And but all that said, so what's that? The total is about 1.1 million. So all that said, I'd be open to an additional amendment, and I just kind of recently thought of this, but and calculated it on a back of the envelope kind of thing. If we wanted to do a one-time payment to our non-reps, again, similar to what the county does, even if we gave all of them 1,000 or 1.5, that would still leave us for savings of over $500,000. So I'd certainly be open to that. That would, to Alderman Gay's concern, if we gave him a one-time bonus, that would benefit the people lower on the totem pole more than those higher up, who I think we want to be concerned about. So that would be kind of a second idea, not related to directly. It's not in this amendment. This amendment just is the salary freeze for non-reps.
Can we just get some clarification from Jody or David Gerald whether that is possible or not?
So maybe out of the one-time payment fund we just talked about earlier.
So I'll say a little. I mean, I suppose I have to see what's left from 19. I'm not sure we could fund it out of what's left from 19. I'd have to do calculations, but I will say that you're not only taking away COLAs, you're taking away steps, and not everybody is eligible for steps. And we have built into our step table what they call longevity steps. And in order to move to the next step, let's say you have to have 7 years here. So there's people that haven't had a raise for a couple of years that are waiting for their next step, and they're the ones that aren't going to get a step. So it's not just evenly applied across all non-reps. It's not evenly applied across all employees. It's targeting people that are eligible for steps as well. And I'm just coming at it from the perspective of the people that work for me. This is going to be a big blow for them. I have staff that regularly work overtime. Some of them are eligible to be paid, but some of them are not. And they're just putting in all kinds of hours. And to turn around and select them for something like this, they're going to be crushed.
And just to quickly comment on that, I mean, it's not a reduction, it's just a freeze. And I think it's important. I really did not want to reduce anybody's salary. I don't think now is the time to do it. But it is, I think, in terms of the step increases, I think one of the benefits is all it does is push that back, right, to next year. The step increase they'll still get, but it's just going to be pushed back a year. We're not taking it away from them.
And Jody, what would be the range of salaries that we're talking that this would be applied to?
Can you give the details again on what the specs were on that revision?
It should be everybody.
No, but you're saying when Alderman Savage was talking about changing the numbers to reflect something else, I'm not sure I was following it all.
he was saying he'd like to make a one-time payment. I was asking you what sort of salaries will be affected. Would it be $30,000 salaries through to $175,000 salaries? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to see. 30?
Kind of depends on what we write into the legislation. This is just for everybody. I'm sorry, all the non-reps. And if we did a one-time increase, you could specify who you'd want it to go to. I'd say everybody. In terms of all the non-reps, the unions are already getting increases.
So yeah, salary ranges would be anywhere from the 30s all the way up to the top, to the department heads. So there's a wide range there.
Alderman Gay had his hand up first, then Alderman Arnett, and then Alderman Pindell-Charles. Thank you.
So, Alderman Savage, a couple quick questions really quick. So, with the proposed idea of the one-time payments, what is your idea to use the stimulus money, or I'm sorry, I said stimulus, the COVID money?
No, and that proposal I just thought of, so there's not an amendment to reflect that. But it would probably, my idea would be to use that pool of money, the one-time payment pool of money we were talking about earlier, for the masks, because I think there's still money left in that account even after using it for the fire masks. But you can't use COVID because it's not COVID related. But that would be on top of, they would still get COVID related hazard pay. Yeah.
And if we could structure out in some way, I don't know. I don't know how comfortable I am with an individual making $30,000 affected. And I understand Jody's concerns of the step increases, but that's just for a year. That doesn't mean that they would never get a step increase, correct? We're not pulling a AAC on them, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so we could structure it so that if you're in the 30s or low 40s, you're not affected by this.
That would have to be a new amendment because that's not in this, and we've been told we can't amend it. So,
well, I think that even if you do what you're if you go through with this and you want to do some kind of stipend thing, that's going to add back to the cost. So it's going to negate a lot of the savings you see here, probably about halfway.
Alderman Gay?
I guess I was still just waiting for my last question, that just so that we could restructure out.
Okay, so if you use the one-time funding, a lot of that's, see, we have that earmarked. Some of these things that are going into the future that are a payment across like 2 years, we have some of that earmarked. So I'm not sure how much of the one-time that reserve is available to use. And if you give that, even if you use the 500 that's left at the end of 21, and you give that out as stipends, but you, what you're saying is you're not going to, Alderman Gay, you're saying that your idea would be they wouldn't be subjected to the freeze that we have here in the amendment. We'd have to restructure the amendment and come back with another one. But if you're talking about giving people stipends, you save what you have in the amendment, but then you add back stipends, which negates what your savings are.
But
not at all. It doesn't negate all the savings.
It reduces it. It doesn't get
reduces it by less than half. It's my calculation.
So it would reduce it, even though those funds are already accounted for, and you were probably, I mean, they were, I'm sure, planning to spend on something else already, correct? So we'd be losing that $500,000 anyway.
Yeah, but that would be coming out of the one-time monies. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you,
Mr. City Manager. Before we go to Alderman Arnett.
Yeah, I just have a question about how the COLAs would work, because there's a COLA, a 3% COLA that's planned for this July 1st, and another 3% that's July 1st of 21 as well. So would the proposal just push back this 3% to to July of 2021, or would it be totally lost and they would just pick up the 3% in July 1st of 21?
Jody, do you know the answer to that?
No, I think that's for you, Alderman Savage, because this is your amendment.
Well, the way it's
would the COLA just be pushed back so they would get 6% at the same time, or would this COLA be lost and they would just get the 3% that's already planned for FY22?
It's not specified in legislation in terms of what COLA it's referring to. So my idea was it would be just for this COLA during this fiscal year. And in terms of pushing it back or not, I'd say no. I mean, I think it kind of eliminates the COLA this year. They can get the one next year, assuming that it gets passed in next year's budget. But I guess if we have a good year, we can always come back and reconsider to add it back in the budget.
Alderman Arnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just an old man and I'm having a hard time following all of this. I look at all of these amendments leading up to the italics and I don't see $979.2 thousand worth of cuts here. I see dribs and drabs on each one of these lines. So where's the big money coming from? And then similarly, we're cutting a grant fund. I mean, how do you cut a grant fund? I don't know what the grant fund is that we're cutting. I mean, the trouble with doing this on the fly like we're doing today is it is very hard to figure out what's going on and keep track of all of this. But, you know, if you just look at the italicized end of these amendments, and it shows that big amount of money, and then you go back and try to find it in each of these line-by-line cuts, I just don't see that money there.
It's there. If you look at the first line of the amendment on page 1 in line 41, general fund, strike 86,267,000, replace it with 85,288. That is $979,200. Now down lower, you see in Appendix A where we take it out of each department individually. And if you go through each of those departments and you add up the changes, you're going to come up with $979,200. So that's there. And you had another question, but
Well, there's in the italicized, we're cutting 12,100 from grant fund.
Oh, the grant fund, sure. You had a question about the grant fund. Well, we have employees that are reporting right to grant funds. Their whole salary is paid by grant funds. So if you're not going to give them a raise and you're not going to give them steps, we're going to cut the appropriation out of the grant fund. Now, they may be able to use the grant money for something else and we reappropriate it elsewhere, but
and all of these cuts, and all of these cuts in the enterprise funds are compensation cuts, the water fund. All right, so again, I'm just trying to add these up by eyeball because that's all we have time for. I still am having a hard time coming up with the almost $1 million, but I'll trust that it's there.
Alderman Pindell Charles, then Alderman Rodriguez, then Alderman Payona. Sheila. Oh, Sheila, you're back. You left me for a little while, Sheila.
I had to go close my garage. Sorry.
I'm just want to kind of enlighten everyone. As all of you know, we have our what's daily now. It's very regularly our COVID leadership briefings and updates pretty much every day up until about a week or so ago. And we have guests come on and we have our department heads to report out. And Alderwoman Tierney has been on several of those calls because those protests have been in her ward. So she's heard the extraordinary work that our department heads, as well as I'll call them rank and file, of our city employees that are doing. Mr. Gerald and our mayor have heard it. It's unbelievable what they're doing. Things we've never thought about that have to be done are being done. I put out city employees up against anyone, and I've heard it up close and personal since March. when we started these briefings, and it's extraordinary. I've been quite pleased and quite, I would say, not surprised, but pleasantly proud of what I've heard. And I know Alderwoman Tierney can vouch for that as well. Like I said, she's been on the call, several of them, because the protests have been in her ward. And I think she would definitely agree with me on that. So just as a side note, it's unbelievable what our employees are doing, especially during this pandemic. And they're going to continue to do it. We continue to come up with ideas and thoughts and working together and bringing in partners. But I'm very proud to hear what goes on each and every day. So thank you.
Alderman Rodriguez, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just have a question for Director Dickinson. What's the split between the COLA decrease or pause and the steps increase pause?
Can you send me the spreadsheet? What's the split between the COLAs and the steps? How much of that, let's say general fund number was from COLAs, how much was from steps?
For general fund?
I'll get an answer.
Thank you.
We'll get it for you. Alderman Payon has his pencil up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I find it a little bit strange to see how the same people who said it was unfair to pick on people for being successful and making a lot of money don't mind at all picking on people who elected not to join a union. I think that it's not my job to recruit for unions. I think this is a ridiculous distinction to make. I'm not completely sure it's even legal, but that's in the words of one of our former colleagues, I am an attorney, but I am not the city attorney. So I can't give advice with regard to that, but I think it's grossly unfair and do not intend to support it.
Jody, do you have that answer for?
Yeah, so out of the amount, for instance, in the general fund, it's a 979,200. 357,500 is steps, and the rest 621, approximately 600 is the COLA.
So thank you for that. So the majority is COLA.
Yeah, it's not quite a third, 2/3. It's a little bit more than a third is steps. I don't know what the exact breakdown is.
So if the scenario were to change where the COLA increases part went forward in terms of freezing, but the steps increase were put back in, and then perhaps a one-time payment similar to the county for those non-exempt employees, like a $1,500 or something like that, that's possible?
Yeah, that's possible. But remember, it won't, I mean, in the long run, those types of things, they help. But there's no compounding the next year when they get the next COLA because they're starting with a lower base salary. But so long term, it will impact them financially, but,
Thank you.
Alderman Tierney, Alderman Finlayson, sorry. You went away and came back. Thank you.
Sorry, I had to go close my garage. It's getting late. Just a couple of things. First of all, most city employees, including DNET, had the opportunity to organize and be part of an organization. And I hesitate to use the term union, but as a representative body. Decisions were made not to do that, not by everyone, but by a few. The county, well, before I go to the county, most of the organizing bodies had Me Too contracts or Me Too statements up until the last negotiated agreement, which meant that everybody would get whatever the unions negotiated. And that's pretty standard. That was negotiated away, I guess, last year or the year before that. I have to look at the county during the Steve Shue administration. The pay raises, at least that were negotiated for educators was eliminated, supposedly postponed, but really those pay raises were eliminated. It took the current administration to come in to restore, and I almost said begin to restore. The hope is that they will restore them starting July 1 of this year. I think I heard Alderman Savage say that employees would lose the 3% for this year with no promise of them getting that compounded pay increase next year. And so just keep that in mind. The steps are earned, and that's not a bad word. It comes from years of experience and years of commitment in the jobs that they hold. And sometimes they have been frozen for as long as 5 years, I guess maybe sometimes 8 years, without getting that step increase. So for us now to say, after they have had to wait for any number of years, we're going to eliminate their step increase is a serious issue to be considered. So just a few tidbits of information.
Alderman Gay?
Yeah, I kind of like Mark's recommendation a lot, just based off of the numerical breakdown that Jody gave us of at least providing the step. And to Sheila's point, it is earned. I guess, geez, I forgot what I had to. I forgot what my second question was, but I really do like Mark's point, if we could work that out. Oh, I know what my question was. It was just a general question to my colleagues who have been here for some time. What has it taken in the past under, hard financial times for you to agree to some sort of cut or amendment to pay or whatever for employees, realizing that we're not doing it because we don't like our employees, but because we think it's the only way to, help stabilize government and help us operate over the course of the next year. How can we, I guess, yeah, I think to villainize, trying to make tweaks to the budget so that we can move forward as we don't like the city employees is a bit much. So how have you made it work in the past so that it can be effective and that you can all agree on it?
Mr. City Manager?
And I think that's a great question. I appreciate that question. So I'm representing all the city employees right now. And what I would ask for is as much equity as we can possibly provide in that. So back in 2010, when the city had a serious financial crisis, there were furloughs that were done, and there were furloughs across the board. So union employees took furloughs. They were negotiated with the unions. The non-reps took furloughs. There were some layoffs. A lot of the layoffs, and Alderman Savage remembers this, a lot of them were the white-collar employees that were laid off, not so many of the blue-collar employees. But there was an attempt to do it across the board and not pick out certain groups just because we can pick out certain groups. And that's what we're doing tonight. We're picking on the non-reps because we can. And what we should be striving for is more equity across the board. So that's what I would encourage the council as much as possible. And maybe that means that we need to go back and reconsider how we do compensation. That's what's coming through loud and clear here is that salaries and benefits are too high, and we need to figure out how we're going to deal with that. But we can't just target certain groups to do that. That's just not right. So I want to represent all of the groups, and I want there to be some equality on how we treat the employees across the board.
And Mr. City Manager, do you think that you'll push more people to the union? I mean, what isn't this? I
think it certainly would push me, and it sounds like it did Alderman Savage too when he was a city.
Yeah, it's not that easy. They can't. I tried. I tried when I was.
No.
talking about? No, I submitted the paperwork and the names to our HR about forming a union. I had enough votes to do
No,
it.
you did not. I was part
I
of
did
that.
so. I had the paperwork, Sheila.
You
I
needed
gave it to
80%.
HR. They denied it because we gave it to
Okay.
them during the wrong time of year, the wrong month, because the city told us we could submit it during a non-month other than what's in the budget. Don't even tell me this. You were not there. I went to you and you gave me no help. Supposedly you were some big pro-union person. You gave me no assistance. No assistance.
All right.
But anyway, let me get to the merits of
That
this.
is so not true. That is
No, it's
so
totally
not true.
Can
I answer that question, though, Mr. Mayor?
Oh, I think we.
No, I've got the floor here. I want to
Savage can finish.
legislation.
We'll go to Ellie to break it up, and then we'll go to you.
I'll be the breakup.
All right. So, I thought you said me first, then Ellie.
Yeah, Alderman Savage.
As the breakup.
Sorry.
So, no, I think everybody does not get a choice to join the unions. It's a big process that you have to go through. It only applies to certain types of employees. The white collar have a much difficult time because there is no white collar union in the city currently. So it's not an easy question. In terms of legality, Alderman Payon, I think you know the answer to that. It's certainly legal. County does this all the time. I think the city's even done this before to a certain degree. And, previous county executives have done this. So it's certainly legal. And again, it's certainly not ideal, but two wrongs don't make a right. I think it was wrong to grant the unions 3 raises in 1 year. And I think it's wrong to do it to non-reps. And that's what we're about to do, is give non-reps 3 raises in a year. And again, this is something where we're putting all the burden on our taxpayers to deal with this tax increase. They're the only ones burdening. They're the only ones with the sacrifice. Why are they the only ones? And why are we giving this huge increase to the employees? I mean, it's just, again, for my constituents, that's one thing they said. They were okay with the tax increase, but only if it was going to be done fairly and go not just towards employee raises. This is just, so again, I mean, I think we could even look at where this money goes, but I also think the other larger issue is how do we address our structural imbalance, which is contributing to our structural deficit. It's talked about every year. Even the FAC, the Financial Advisory Commission, mentioned we need to get a better balance. And so every year we do nothing about it. This is kind of, again, it puts the brakes on it to say, okay, let's slow up here. We need to figure this situation out. So, I mean, I've heard this from a number of people on the Finance Committee who's expressed concern about this. And this is a step to do it. It's a way to do it. That's all.
Oh.
Gavin, you're muted.
Oh.
I said, sorry, Alderman Savage, from what I understand, for most of it's under $100 a year for a tax increase. It seems like a pretty not substantial amount, right?
Well, that's
a $300,000 house.
Debatable.
Is $66 increase annually. Alderman Tierney.
The optics.
Yeah, thank you. I know it's late. To my colleague Alderwoman Pendle Charles's comment, it's hard because I've become very, attached to the employees, and it's hard for me. I don't feel comfortable making these decisions. I feel like it's my job to appropriate money and not get into this this issue. But on this amendment, here's my dilemma. We have all gotten lots of email on the tax increase, and as much as I tried to support it to be fiscally responsible and not, the city go into whatever condition next year and have some kind of a whopper of a tax rate increase, I'm saying to my constituents, as a resident, I hear you, but we have to show them that we're working, and I have only done this a couple of years, but I certainly don't want to go through another year saying, yeah, our staff is going up 8%. You know, we have this systemic problem. We have this unsustainable projectile growth. And I think this is, it's an unfortunate year for everyone. So my approach on this was to have a balance. You know, we hear you residents, but this is what we're doing. And I don't think we're there yet. But at the same time, the experiment didn't work. Our city manager said, well, we're going to do this across the board thing. And so we didn't get it. And now we're going to what we can. And now you're getting into that unfairness. And then also in this amendment, it's really only the $900,000 that affects taxpayers, because the rest is grant funded, if I'm correct, right? So, and also we should have that broken up, as Alderman Rodriguez said, is like, or maybe it was Alderman Gay, let's look at just steps, or let's just look at cost of living. I just don't want to dismiss this whole amendment, because we have to have this conversation. I mean, this is unsustainable, but at the same time, we're boxed in because of we can't do something across the board. Am I all by myself here?
I think we should just move to a vote, please.
But what are we voting on? The whole thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can't
I know.
amend the amendment, so it's the whole thing.
We used to be able to do that, though. We used to be able to amend an amendment on the floor. So I'm a little confused. We don't do that. Okay.
Regina? No, I'm saying, you can't amend an amendment. Can we just get a clarification, Mike, Regina?
Not a budget amendment, no.
Where is that written? I don't see that in the code.
We can research it for you. We can research it for you and find it for you and present it to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Oh, that'd be too late. It's not in Robert's rules.
Can you be quick, Alderman Gay, Alderman Pendle-Charles?
Yeah, I do. I'm my colleagues bring up some valid points, and now I'm kind of just concerned. I mean, what true commitment are we showing our, residents that, like, yes, we're going to vote to increase your taxes, no matter how small the amount, but no, we're not making any legitimate cuts to, the uncontrollable growth in salaries and benefits. I mean, like, I guess I'm trying to get some clarity so that we could potentially vote on this in some way, shape, or form, and it would maybe make other votes easier moving forward. Because right now it's just like, I don't see where we're making that commitment.
Well, this is the last one, Alderman Gay. So on this,
how can we? I mean, like I said, if Mark's idea could be, just the or keep the step, remove the COLA, because I don't want to leave people, like, pockets empty. But I do think we need to make some significant cut to balance out what we're going to eventually end up doing.
Can I get David Gerald to clarify for you that for you, and then we'll go to Alderman Pendle-Charles.
I would just say that, so we've made $3.8 million worth of cuts when we introduced the budget. We weren't able to get the COLA reduction, so instead we did Plan B, where we took vacancy savings. So right now we have a balanced budget. So all of these cuts that you're talking about, and I understand the concern about salaries and benefits, but right now we have a balanced budget. So these are all on top of the balanced budget. These are savings above what we need. Maybe that's a good thing, but please keep these employees in mind that we're talking. We're picking out a sector of the employees and saying, because you guys aren't represented, because you can't fight against this, we're going to take your COLA and maybe your steps. if we take the steps, that's even a smaller group that's getting these that we're not being equitable with. So please just keep that in mind. We already have balanced budget because of Plan B. And so these are cuts above and beyond that $3.8 million that we already cut from the budget.
Pendle-Charles?
Yeah, just one quick thing. Next year's budget, this is just a suggestion, that each one of us take time to talk with each director, just one-on-one, meet with the directors, each director, and just kind of see what each one is doing within their departments. And I think that would be extraordinarily helpful in us understanding what each department does, which the employees do, what the director's trying to get towards. And I think we would have a better understanding of what's going on in our city government if each one of us did that next time around. Thank you.
I'm gonna call we're gonna vote on this. Come on, we're just Alderwoman Finlayson.
Thank you. I'd like to add to what Alderwoman Pendle-Charles is saying. Let's make sure that this year we do a survey of the community to see what services they value. Bob Burden mentioned the services that are most important, but without being able to say what they are. So we want to cut people, we want to cut services. And the only way to find out what the community values is by asking them. So at the same time, we're talking to the employees to see what they do and how they contribute to our city. Let's talk to the taxpayers and see what they value.
Thank you, Alderman Arnett. And then we're voting.
What Sheila said, it's not just talking to the employees, it's talking to the people we represent.
Okay, all those in favor of the Alderman Savage amendment number 16 with a show of hands, say aye.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All those opposed with a show of hands, say no.
No.
Do you need to do a roll call?
Yes. Yeah, I can't see it.
Missing someone?
Okay, Mayor Buckley,
No.
Alderwoman Tierney,
Aye.
Alderman Payon,
Can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Aye.
thank you. Alderwoman Pendle-Charles,
No.
Alderwoman Finlayson,
No.
Alderman Rodriguez,
No.
Alderman Gay,
I want to remove myself from this vote.
you
It's too
abstain.
Yeah, abstain. I'm sorry, but I just can't. I don't know which to do. I really want to help out our employees, but I also really want to make sure that our residents are taken care of.
Alderman Savage,
Aye.
Alderman Arnett.
Aye.
The motion is defeated. The vote was 4-4.
The one.
I'm sorry, but look.
No, it's fine. I respect Dewan for what he said. I respect him for what he said.
Do not apologize, young man. Do not apologize.
Stick to myself. I'm sorry.
Don't.
Just blame Mark. That's okay, because he's leaving.
I'll do all the unpopular things.
So that is the end of, Jody, is that the end of 1620?
No.
No?
If you remember, I think Alderman Savage wants to talk about the, which one was it with?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to reconsider Amendment 14. Savage Amendment 14.
Can I get a second for that, please?
He wants to read.
Whoa, wait. Whoa, what's 14? Hold on. Summary, please.
It's the one that would restore, since it's been seconded. Mayor, can I give a brief?
Need a second, please?
Mark,
There's a second.
Yeah, this is the one that would, so again, with my one amendment that passed, number 8, that defunded a few of the vacant positions. My original intention was to only have it defund half of the vacant transit positions, so 2 out of 4 vacant positions, but the amendment was drafted with 4. This changes it back to 2. I just took some more time to review it and speak to others about it during the break, and decided to go back to my original intention, which was only have applied to 2 transit positions.
Hold on for a second.
Regina?
It was a voice vote.
Regina, Mike Lyles?
Was this voted on? I'm sorry, I missed. Regina, was this a vote on this?
Yeah.
And it failed?
Yes, this was a vote that failed.
Right, so the reconsideration has to come from someone who voted no.
Right.
Rob voted no.
That was me.
Alderman Savage voted no.
Okay, great.
And then we get a second.
Yes, we have a second.
Any more discussion?
All in favor of the motion to reconsider.
Wait, which one is this for? Really quick. Which one is this for?
This is currently the motion to reconsider, and then you have to vote on amendment number 14 again.
Okay.
Was it 14 or 8?
14.
14.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second to reconsider 14. All those in favor say aye.
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 1, 2.
Aye.
Let's see 3.
Need to do a roll call or not?
Wait.
Hold on 1 second.
Do the other half of the vote.
Mayor Buckley,
Yes.
Alderman Tierney,
Yes.
Alderman Payon,
Aye. Aye.
Alderwoman Pendle Charles,
No.
Alderwoman Finlayson,
No. No.
Alderman Rodriguez,
Aye.
Alderman Gay. Okay, here. I'm sorry, what did you say? You said,
Yes, sorry.
Alderman Savage
Aye.
and Alderman Arnett.
No.
The motion carries to reconsider amendment number 14.
Okay. Do we need to put that forward again? Regina?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to put it forward again, Alderman Savage?
You're on mute, Rob.
Sorry, say that again, Mr. Mayor.
Does he have to put it forward again, Regina?
You had to vote to reconsider it, and the reconsideration passed. Now you have to vote on the amendment number 14.
Okay, I'll move that we adopt amendment 14.
Second.
Alderman Payon?
What is Amendment 14? I can't find it. When did we get it? Anybody have a time? And who did we get it from so I can find it?
It was from Takia at 6:16 p.m.
Okay, just a second. I don't have anything from Takia at 6:16. Ah, boy, okay. Just a minute.
You remember this was the one about the police, public works, and transportation?
6:14, that's Regina.
We sent it to them at 6:14, so it might have come a little bit later to you, maybe 5-10 minutes after that.
And if we could get this voted on by 11, we have to vote to continue. So we've got 5 minutes.
Can somebody send it to me
It was
again?
sent at 6:20, but I can send it again.
Thank you.
I got it at 6:16. Okay.
It's disappeared. I didn't vote before without seeing it. I don't know where it is. I got 15, I got 13.
Weren't 14 and 15 together?
Kitty's sending it.
I got 15 at 7:45. That was my amendment.
You should have it coming in right now.
Okay. Katie Conley, thank you. I've got it. You have just a moment to look at it again. Gesundheit.
You got Jimmy to vote to continue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Alderman Tierney?
Quick question. On this amendment, if it's passed, then what would be the total that we've done for police, Annapolis Police Department turnover line item? Is that the one we're talking about?
That's not going to change.
That's not going to change?
Just transit.
Just transit, yeah.
So, but still, what is the total that we have for police?
Police, I have, it would be 717 plus 121. So,
okay, so the 717, 300 or whatever.
About 839.
Okay. All right. Dewan, that helps us address our constituents. I don't know if you heard me.
That's a chunk of turnover.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if we look at it technically not as turnover, but a reallocation, correct? Because we are coming back to put those funds into our community.
That has to be put forward, but yes. Yeah.
So of the 839 on the police, on the general fund, about 135 is additional reductions that have not yet been repurposed.
Only $135,000, that's it?
Yeah, because the mayor's budget already includes the 700, I'll give you the total number for the general.
135,000 added today or in total is my
added to, well, we already had turnover in the mayor's budget. Then on Amendment 2, we changed our approach from deferring the COLA for half a year and then took some more turnover in the budget. So that balanced the general fund at that point. And since then, we've removed another 135,772, which is a reduction, and we haven't yet said what to do with that.
Okay. All right. I know we got to vote, but I like that. 135.70.
Right, let's get the vote in.
Yeah.
135.72.
All those in favor of Savage Amendment 14, say aye. With a show of hands, aye. All those opposed, say no.
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 Do you need the roll call, Regina, or not? Mike? Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Aye.
Alderwoman Kendall Charles.
No.
Alderwoman Finlayson.
No.
Alderman Rodriguez.
Aye.
Alderman Gay.
Yes.
Alderman Savage.
Aye.
Alderman Arnett.
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The motion carried.
Okay. It is 11 o'clock. I need a motion to continue. Is that right, Regina?
So moved.
No.
So moved.
Get on to the fee schedules, which I know everyone's going to be easy with, right?
You need a second, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Okay.
The vote.
All those in favor of the continuation, say aye with a show of hands.
Aye.
Aye.
All those not in favor, say no.
No.
Two old guys. That's one more.
Thanks, Fred.
I'm
I
going to say,
said, just one more.
11 o'clock, I'm usually just rolling over.
Yeah. One's getting dressed to go out now. They hit the club. So, Jody, do we need to do anything here before we vote on whether these changes were substantive?
No, we will come back to you at the next meeting with an amendment to propose what to do with the net impact on all the, if we have amendments that affected each other, to tell you if there's any other measures we have to take to balance it.
No, that's not the question.
What was it?
I think these are substantive amendments.
Yeah.
Oh, no. He said, is there anything else we need to do before we vote to say whether they're substantive? And if you vote that they are, then we'll have a balancing amendment on Monday.
And I meant, Alderman Arnett, I meant recalculation, so that will come to us. So can you give me a motion to vote on whether these amendments were substantive?
So moved. I move that these were substantive amendments.
Okay. Can I get a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, do we
You can get
call the roll first? Huh?
All in favor.
All in favour, raise their hands, say aye.
Okay, ayes have it.
Let's have it. They are substantive.
So come up with an amendment to incorporate all amendments and.
So we're going to call the roll now, Madam City Clerk?
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley,
Yes?
Alderwoman Tierney, Alderman Payon,
Aye.
Alderwoman Pendle Charles,
Aye.
Alderwoman Finlayson,
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez,
Aye.
Alderman Gay,
Aye.
Alderman Savage,
Aye.
Alderman Arnett.
Aye.
Yes, okay. One thing about the public hearing on, your public hearing will be scheduled for Monday, the 15th, but what time are we looking
I
at?
have it down for 7 p.m. on my calendar.
7 p.m.? Okay.
June 15th, 2020.
Okay.
Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
I think the next item is the FT.
No, it's R26.
R2720, yep. R2620, fiscal year 2021 fee schedule for the purpose of specifying fees that will be charged for the use of city services for fiscal year FY21.
Is there a motion to adopt R-26-20 on second reader?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
I think we have amendments, is that right?
Yes.
Discussions or amendments,
Yes, we-
Mr. Regina, sorry.
Yes, they were given, I think Susie brought them to you.
Okay, cool. So,
Point of order. I see amendments 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. There was no amendment 3.
I have a 3.
Can you speak? Because I can't, I'm looking for it. Hold on.
Wonder what it looks like.
It looks like it's been slashed, but
Is it Amendment 2-3?
I have.
Buckley Amendment? Dishonored tax and convenience fees? No.
no.
2 and 3 may be on the same piece of paper.
Yeah, it's a double-sided. Amendment number 2 is on one side for R26, and number 3 is on the second side.
What if your printer doesn't print double-sided?
Could be an issue.
What piece of legislation are we on? I'm sorry.
R26.
Schedule to R-26-20.
Yes.
Amendment
Okay,
number 1.
thank you.
But we will hold up until you all have a copy of number 3.
Because there are 3 amendments. I have 1, 2, and 3.
Amendment number 3.
Uh-huh.
Can you anyone put their hand up who does not have amendment number 3? That is 3 of us, 4 of us. Can we resend? Oh, everyone doesn't have that. Can we resend amendment number 3?
Mr. Mayor.
Everybody, you should have for R2620 an amendment number 1, 2.
1 and 2, 3, right? We have it.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me find it. Get it in order. Hold on.
In the registrar, it has amendment 2-3. What is that? Is that 2 and 3? Hello.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Alderman Gay.
At one point, they were on the same page. I'm not
right.
Mine are separated, but at one point they were uploaded on the same page. So I'm here in the process. They're separate sheets now.
Can we re-email number 3?
It is in Legistar.
Okay.
Why do we have 3 amendment number 1s from finance? There are 3 amendment number 1s from finance. What is that?
Adds up to amendment number 3.
Are they all for R2620?
Yes.
Legistar?
One's a docket. One is a PDF, one is a docx, and one is a R.
Oh.
Okay, Alderman Paone, I am getting that sent to you, Jody. We resend.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For some reason, my iPhone's not picking up any of the amendments, although I do have the text of the statute itself, the ordinance itself. Can somebody mind texting me, emailing me the amendments?
You want all of them?
I don't have any of them. I don't know what they are.
Okay.
So
All of them for R26.
I think a lot of people don't have it, so maybe let's just email all of the R2620 schedule.
All right, give us a minute.
And while they're doing that, David, could you really quickly explain to me what the wastewater discharge permit?
So we need to, I think that one's just correcting it to say it's per year. Adding the verbiage per year at the end of the $100.
So we already assess it, but the wording is wrong. Is that what this
Correct. It's just to clarify that it's per year.
So
every year.
So is it $100 a year, or is it you pay $100 and you get a 3-year permit? It says.
So yeah, but so one's on the back end.
Okay, you've got 4, 5, and 6.
Yep.
It's $100 every year for each of the 3 years.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of all 6 amendments.
So the only thing, you should look at the PDF versions of all of this. If you got a hold of the Word documents, just use the PDF version.
Can I second Alderman Arnett's proposal?
Thank you, Alderman Arnett.
I haven't even seen them. Oh,
yeah, can we wait till we get them?
Yep.
Oh.
They've been up all day.
I'm still not getting amendment 3 in this email that just came through. I'm still getting amendment 1, 2, 4, 5, 6.
Look, is it on the same page?
It's in Legistar.
It's in Legistar.
Open amendment 2 and look at it. It says 2-3.
I mean, I got it open on Granicus. I have it on the city's Legistar.
Does it say 2-3? 2 and 3?
26 for 2620, right?
Yes.
Fred, these are exactly what the Finance Committee recommended.
It should say, the title of it should be Amendment 2-3.
What?
Alderman Gay, did you just get the email?
Yeah, but I already had that earlier. I have it in physical copy, but what I'm saying is I'm just missing the 3rd one. I don't have it in Legistar.
So go to your email and find the document that says 2-3. R2620 Amendment 2-3.
All right, hold on 1 second. Amendment. Okay, all right. So this is.
I don't have it. I don't see it over there. Oh, boy.
Still missing Alderman Gay? Still waiting? Got it? Okay. So we have a motion to vote on them all at once and a second. Anybody got any problems with that?
Nope, as long as they don't bounce a check with the city.
They do, I'm going to charge them a $35 fee.
All right. Should we wait for Alderman Finlayson to get back?
I'm here. I was just
Alderman
picking up
Gay,
papers from my computer.
Alderman Gay?
Yeah, I have questions about the amendment. So we couldn't vote on them all at once if I have a question, right?
Regina? So can we ask questions? So they're on the floor, though. He can ask questions. Yep. Alderman Gay?
Yeah, my first is why are we making it making it more expensive to be convenient? Changing the convenience fee for payment by phone or online by use of debit or credit card from 1.25% to 3%.
So right now, there is no such fee. We had originally put it in the fee schedule at 1.25%. But since then, we've done some research on how these fees are structured. And what we would like to do is called in the industry a convenience fee. I don't like the terminology either. And it's a dollar amount per transaction instead of percent on the amount of the transaction.
So
it was never in to begin with. We had this drafted to have a 1.25%, but since we've done some research, we need to set a dollar amount fee. Yeah, like the county, we looked into some of the surrounding governments and how they assess these fees, and it's a dollar amount.
And then also, amendment number 4, I'm still not completely comfortable with the changes. I mean, I believe David said at the last meeting, if I'm correct, that the differences in fees wouldn't make any drastic changes in the revenue that the pool would receive, did I misunderstand that?
I think that's how Director Trader articulated the changes. He didn't think it was going to make that big of an impact. A few weeks ago, the council considered a resolution to update the fees to reflect the new pool costs. And we had to change what we had originally submitted in our resolution 2620 had the fee structure that we had recommended. And since that time, the council changed that fee structure. So we are updating the fee schedule in our 2620 to reflect what the council has already approved.
I think I ended up voting against that.
Yeah, I don't remember the vote, so.
Yeah, and I would hope my colleagues wouldn't approve it. I mean, the director has said it really wouldn't make any difference. It would obviously make a difference because you're getting more money, but it's not that much more money. And I mean, just no kid that I know from my ward, or especially with multiple families, would be able to afford the youth pass at $180 per child. And then I also think that it's a stretch to go from $4 a day to $7 a day, or from 6 to 10. I mean, thank Mr.
Those are, you're reading non-resident fees.
Right,
To be people
right.
outside the city.
Yes, nothing changes for inside the city. And it actually goes down from 5 to 4 for children.
All right, well, can we take it down 5 to 2? If it doesn't make that big of a difference.
I don't know about that. You have to ask Director Trader.
I mean,
I may be on the call. Can we check and see if Archie's on the call?
Here he is. Hey.
There he is.
He's there.
Can you hear me? Or
Dr. Trey, you're on mute right now.
Okay.
Now we can hear you. Yeah. So if the children 12 and under and seniors 62 and plus, if we reduce that from 4 to 2, would that create a significant drop in revenue for your department through the pool, through that funding?
Yes. I believe it would make a significant difference in revenue, and this is the reason why. I think a lot of people don't realize is that the low-income population of our city, many who live in your ward, Mr. Gay, are some of our most consistent users of the pool. And they, well, traditionally, I'm pretty sure with the new pool, other demographics will be coming in and using the pool. But traditionally and historically, it has been low income, low middle income populations using our pool. So it would make a difference if we dropped to $2. It doesn't make sense, really, because that's the cost of the average candy bar right now.
Well, you said that the majority of the swimmers are low income, so in some ways it would make sense. The pool in Eastport Terrace and Harbor House is $1, and through partnerships with HACA and other entities, they seem to make it work. I don't see.
Well, they don't have the overhead that we have. They do not have the overhead that we have. Not that the $4 is going to make a difference or cut into our expenditures or help with our expenditures and our overhead. But, we can't afford to lose that. The Harbor House analogy, they can afford to charge $1. In fact, I've taken my Stanton Center camp there for 6 to 7 consecutive years, and we weren't charged anything. So, but they don't have the overhead that we have.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, you could put it to a vote after this, Mr. Mayor, if people are comfortable with, so my point's not being well taken, but I just would like for our low-income families and kids to be able to use these resources and not be priced out in the, never mind. I just don't think
Alderman Gay,
changes to $2.
With all due respect, Alderman Gay, that was the price last year, and I believe for several years before that. So, and they've attended in good numbers. I don't think there was any complaints at all from themselves. I received no complaints about the cost of $4 for children. And in fact, we had submitted a fee schedule that actually increased it. And then thanks to Ms. Sheila Finlayson and Ross Arnett, they agreed to leave it at $4. And that's what it's been for several years.
I'll just ask this quick question. And if this is voted on, will you take the kids from the Stanton Center to the pool now with the better equipment, resources, utilities, services?
Well, yes, all of our summer camps, this year we'll have a modified summer camp, and the Stanton Community Center, which has no outdoor space, will be located at the Truxton Park, at least twice a week, and then located at the Waterworks Park 3 times a week. So, yes, they will have full access to the pool, and you have to also understand that COVID-19 regulations and protocol has established only a 25% capacity in the pool. So a lot of things, a lot of numbers that are going to be able to use the pool is going to be staggered and limited. So we have to find a way to get our summer camps in there. We have to find a way to get our general populations in there on a first come, first served basis. no matter whether or not you have a season pass or whatever, you know, first come, first serve. So I think that they'll have access to the pool.
You finished, Alderman Gay? Yes.
Yeah.
Alderman Finlayson.
Yes, Director Trader, you just mentioned a reduction of your season because of, or your capacity because of COVID-19. Do you think we're going to need to reduce the fees if they're purchasing season passes and they only get a portion of the season?
Well, that's a very good perspective. We may have to, based on the limited time for a season, we may have to consider readjusting those costs, those fees.
And you can prorate them, right, Director Trader?
Yeah, we can do that also.
Okay, we have a motion to vote on these as a block, 1 to 6, R-26-20. All those in favor of these amendments, say aye with a show of hands.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Motion carries.
Is there a motion to vote on whether the amendment R26 or 20 are substantive? Is there a motion to amend O-16-20? Sorry. Yeah, sorry, I'm lost. Sorry.
R26.
Is there a motion to adopt R-26-20 as amended on second reader?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
That's good.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Mayor Buckley?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Yes.
Alderman Payon?
Aye.
Alderwoman Pendle Charles?
Aye.
Alderwoman Finlayson?
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Nah.
You said aye? Okay. Alderman Savage?
Aye.
And Alderman Arnett?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes.
I just comic relief. Do you know that you can get a fee? You can get a fee for the claw machine in a carnival for $450 a year. That just cracks me up. The claw machine. Thank you, Dwan, for laughing. We'll put one at City Dock.
I move R27-20.
All right. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
I move all the amendments for R27-20.
Alderman Gay.
So for code reference 122090B, parking reserved for plug-in electric driving vehicles actively. So you charge $100 for parking in a slot that is used for electric vehicles.
Mr. City Attorney, can you?
Yeah, this fine would impose on those who are parking otherwise in a spot reserved for electric vehicles. Right now, we have electric vehicle spaces, but there has been no penalty and no ticket amount penalty for that infraction. So the infraction had no penalty. So this would seek to give a penalty to those who would otherwise park in those spaces.
Okay. Ross, I mean, I agree with the idea, Rob, but I just think it's a little light.
$100 is light?
I mean, you're not supposed to park there. You get $500 for parking in a handicap spot. It's almost the equivalent. You're parking in an electric spot. thought that they do ticket for this. Okay.
They don't have the power to right now.
They can ticket, but they don't have a penalty associated with it.
Okay.
And this is, we did research. This is consistent with ticketing across the region.
Wow. So you're running late. You got your Mercedes G-Wagon, and I'm just like, oh, okay. I'll throw $100 at that. I'm not going to care about the electric cars. Come on.
Mr. Mayor.
Regina, sorry, Alderman Savage.
Yeah, just to jump in, I do want to ask the city attorney, because I don't think this legislation passed yet. 01412. Is that the legislation for electric vehicles? I don't think it's been through committee yet, because there were a couple other things we wanted to talk about. So is this something we should wait on?
No, because people are parking in these spaces that you have designated be created around the city. And people are complaining that people are parking in these spaces and there's nothing we can do about it. We can't ticket, we can't tow. So this is seeking to solve that issue.
So if legislation for the actual, the 01420, if that gets changed in committee, we'll just have to go back and adjust the budget.
I don't have 01420 in front of me, so I'm not really sure what it refers to.
Okay. This at least sets a baseline for us instead of nothing.
Regina, sorry, did you have something to say?
I have two things to say. First of all, for point of clarity, Jody, do we only have 2 amendments for R27? I have an amendment 1 from Savage and an amendment 4 from Tierney. Are those the only 2 amendments to R2720?
That's all I have.
Okay, and Julian has something that he needs to tell you.
Oh, yeah. Hey, guys, so just so you know, as we're coming up to midnight, we have not done a meeting yet. Past midnight, we don't know if Zoom will carry through the next day or not. So if you do get kicked off at midnight, we have another meeting already set up just in case it happens. So I just want to make sure you guys know that if it disappears, that is why, and we'll be sending something immediately.
There is no chance we're going past midnight, I'm sure. So we have a motion to adopt both amendments and a second. Am I right, Regina?
A motion to adopt the amendments.
Okay, can I get a motion to adopt the amendments?
We never discussed them. Alderman Arnett, and a second from Alderman Savage.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Show of hands. Okay.
Move we adopt R2720 as amended on second reader.
And a second.
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye. Show of hands.
A question.
You need a roll call. Mayor Buckley?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Yes, and thank you.
Alderman Payon?
Aye.
Alderman Pendle Charles?
Aye.
Alderman Finlayson?
Aye.
Alderman Rodriguez?
Aye.
Alderman Gay?
Aye.
Alderman Savage?
Aye.
Alderman Arnett?
Aye and no thank you.
The motion carries.
And right, I think we're good, right?
No, the next 2 items were removed from the consent calendar by Alderman Arnett.
Okay, what is the next one, please, Regina?
It's FT, hold on one second. It is
FT7.
FT7.
720.
It's the various department transfers.
We need to vote on those separately. So you moving it, Alderman Arnett?
Yes, I'm moving FT7-20. I asked that it be pulled off just simply because this is a large amount of money. There's nothing out of order here. And in fact, I think it's relatively small amounts of transfers, but it is a large amount of money.
Can I get a second for that, please?
Which page is this?
Jody?
FT7, second.
It's FT 720, but when I picked it up off the internet just now, it still has 620. We had to renumber it.
Can you explain it for us?
Oh, yeah. So this is what we call a fourth quarter transfer. We're coming up on year end. We look at all the departments' budgets and we see who we think is going to overspend and who we and where we think we might be able to shift some funds around from one department to another to cover those overages. And so what we did here is we show you the first set is using some excess from the fire department to cover some overages in those various departments there: council manager, law, police, OEM, and DPW facilities contract services. Most of these are salary and benefits related. Some are contractual services. The second grouping moves money amongst the various divisions at Rec and Parks. And then we gave some detailed descriptions down in the explanation box to help you see why departments overspend or where the sources are coming from.
Any questions, Alderman Arnett?
No, thank you. And I think that having the explanation in the boxes really made this a lot clearer. As I said, there are some important items in here. One of them noteworthy is a correction to the accounting for the latchkey program, which is an extremely important program in the city, allows children to be taken care of before and after school for working parents. But as I said, I just thought because of the magnitude, this is over $500,000, really should not go on the consent calendar.
Thank you. So let's take a vote on this. All those in favor, say aye with a show of hands. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. And there was another one, Alderman Arnett?
Yes, SA 3520, which is the transfer, the supplemental appropriation that recognizes about $6.5 million of grant, much of which is COVID related. And it is complicated because these are grant monies that actually cover 2 years. We focused in Finance Committee on allocation of these funds for fiscal 2020. And then I'm assuming that we will at some point have another amendment to the grants table that will add fiscal 2021 numbers. Those are things that I think we need to know and understand as we complete our vote on fiscal 2021. We don't have that before us because the supplemental appropriation is only for fiscal 20. There is a detailed breakdown that we received for the $2 million from the county that we're recognizing in fiscal 20, which has some large amounts, hazard pay, PPE, those sorts of things. Again, large amounts of dollars. So that was why I thought we needed to not have this on the consent calendar.
Jody, would you like to give some clarification?
Just running through these, each of these grants on here is related to CARES funding. It came in different pieces. Some of it came through our regular federal or state granting agencies as a part of programs they already have in place. Those would be those top three. The transportation grant revenue also came through MDOT, and that's the total amount that we're getting there, but we won't need to use all that in 20. It is meant to help cover transit operations for local transit services so that we can maintain transit services throughout the COVID-19 emergency when we had so much unemployment. And we can use that for any operating cost. So that's really saved us. And that, again, anything that's unused at the end of this fiscal year, we will come back to you in July and ask for an appropriation for the rest of it for 21. And as of right now, there's no deadline on the transportation revenue, so it may in fact carry into 22. We don't know yet on that, but right now there's no deadline. If there's any left, we can pull that for any operating cost at all to replace revenues that we've lost. So that's a good thing. The $2 million number is what we got $4.25 million from the county. They got a direct federal grant and they have sub-granted us that $4.25 million. And we got together and put together a list of the things we might need it for this year. There's some things we've already spent that we're going to reimburse ourselves for. There are, the hazard pay is going to come out of this money, and there's some other expenses. And we, as Alderman Arnett said, we provided a list that details where the $2 million came from. The other $2.25 million has to be used before December 30th. And that and any leftover from this $2 million, we will ask for an appropriation for 21 in July.
Any other questions? Alderwoman Tierney?
You're still muted. You're still muted.
Yeah. Okay. 2 questions. On the spreadsheet, the county of 4250, I'm just a little confused on where you see that above. I see, do you know what I'm saying?
So on the spreadsheet, you're showing the one that totals 2 million?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just telling you what we might want to spend from the 4.25 million total this year. Because we're only setting an appropriation for FY20. So we went for the things that we intend to do that might need funding this year and gave an amount. So we tried to delineate them here for you. The first one, like I spoke to, is the approximate amount we'll need for hazard pay. But if there is any leftovers from these programs, or we don't quite get to spend it this year, we will reappropriate that in 21 along with the other 2.25 million.
Okay, I was just being stupid because I see it. I see it. I just didn't see a 4.2 line item in the revenue.
No. We didn't. We knew we wouldn't be able to use the whole 4.25, so we tried to give you a list of what we would do this year and save the rest for next year.
Okay, and I think I might have asked this before, but it's getting late. What, just so I guess my colleagues understand, if we support the transportation, then the parking fund transfer will not happen?
Meaning whatever, so we want the parking fund to break even. And so if they continue to be short of parking fees, we can lower the amount of transfer they'll be sending over to the transportation fund so that parking fund can break even. So if they continue to have declining fees because of the crisis, then this can be used in the transportation fund, and the transportation fund will get less from the parking fund.
Okay, so they still have that relationship. Okay, thank you.
We program enough, we typically program enough from parking fund to make the transportation fund break even.
Alderman Arnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought, my understanding was that we wouldn't need to take anything out of parking and send it to transportation because this money covered all their operating costs. And so that $2 million would stay in the parking fund.
So we can do that if we want to use it. We would end up using an awful lot of it in 21. If the parking fund, right now, the budget is established so that the parking fund is scheduled to make a transfer to the transportation fund. And typically the parking fund could have excess money left over even after the transportation fund transfer. But I would that's a management decision. We could use this instead, but the funding staying in the parking fund is supposed to be subsidizing the transportation activities. So,
but the
we're
reason
changing our normal procedures.
The reason I'd like to see it stay in parking is when the Hillman garage comes down, we're going to be falling short of a lot of money, irrespective of the COVID virus. And so if we don't have to send it over to transportation, I'd like to see it stay.
Well, here's what I would be wary of. We are getting this money from the CARES Act, and it is to be used for COVID effects. And the COVID effects are the fact that during the COVID emergency, our revenues are threatened. So if we start to use this to displace revenue that we want to use for another purpose, that's probably not going to fly with the federal grantor agency. We have to tie it to COVID. It can replace revenues threatened by the COVID emergency. In this case, we can use it for any transit operations. But in a year, if there is, if everything's resolved and there's a vaccine and there is no more emergency, then we'll have to work with our grantor to decide if we can still use it for something else.
Well, I think I would like to not just automatically transfer. I don't know that we can do that now, but maybe I do a resolution later on. I think we need to wait and see. First of all, I don't think the virus is going away. And I also don't think that a whole bunch of people are going to be swarming in. The 20-something, 30-somethings might, but I don't think there's a lot of people in my cohort or near my cohort that are going to come streaming into town to dine, particularly inside. So I think that we need to be judicious and at least retain the possibility of keeping this in the parking fund. And I do think we should also be looking at parking monies that can help tide us over when we're moving into the Hillman garage removal. I just think it's prudent to leave that in there.
I think I would just say if we want to do that, if we want to hold some of these revenues, hold that, the parking fund transfer to use it for another purpose, I think we should probably check with the grantors to make sure that they're okay with the way we'd be treating that.
Okay, I'm not even sure they would even know about this, but
we are transparent in our uses of these funds. We are not going to be silent on how we're using the grant funds, because if we do know, then we have to give it back.
All right. Well, I have a feeling we're going to be using it for COVID-19.
Okay, all those in favor of taking the money, say aye by raising their hand. Aye.
Aye.
All those against taking the money, say hold them on it. No one from Fred? Okay. Now, Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
I'm sorry to say, sir, that the agenda has come to an end.
I have something for the good order.
Okay, yep, Alderwoman Pindell Charles.
I could have not heard it correctly. Finance Director Dickinson, do you have something at the end for us to tell us where we're at as far as the what we got left over? We don't have leftover money. Have you been keeping a running tally, or how does that work?
You mean for FY20? Oh no. Oh,
right now, 21.
For the amendments for 21.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as I know, it would be just the 135,000 of extra turnover, but I'll have to go back and see which ones passed. What else passed besides that?
Mm-hmm. Parking, USC, additional turnover, establishing OEP.
I've got a reason for asking. And my reason is I'm hearing what everybody's saying. And we know the past 2 weeks have been tough. Listening to Alderwoman Finlayson as far as MSW, LCSW, Alderman Gay and everybody. And I had a thought as we kind of went along. Why don't we use that CARES, not the CARES, but the caring within our city police department, as far as having an MSW or an LCSW We've got the structure already in place to use that money. As public safety chair, I think we can and oversight it to a certain degree to make sure it's being done. I think we have a novel opportunity to do something different and innovative. So that's kind of my suggestion, to use that money within the police department, but for the caring kind of things that we want to do.
Alderman Gay?
We can talk about it later.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, as well as Alderwoman Pendel-Charles is, I'm sure at the next meeting, at some point we'll have an opportunity to discuss this again. I hope, the COVID money, but it's just not, like I said, the last meeting, it's not helping the people really. I don't see where the assistance is going towards our communities. It's more just moving money around the city government.
One thing I meant to say, Alderman Gay, I know within the police department, they have, from what I gather, two kind of credentialed people, Detective Stein as well as Officer Nancy Moore, that work on domestic violence cases. If we could get something akin to that, because I know that they are the domestic violence gurus over there, to get some folks to do the same kind of work within the police department. We already have a track record for that. So that's just something to kind of think about.
Alderman Pendel-Charles, Alderman Finlayson, sorry.
I spoke to Chief Jackson just today about where that position should go. And I think I'd like for Trish to help us to make a decision, since we used to have a social worker in the city. And since it is much broader than just public safety, I just think we need to have a discussion with Director Gerald and Trish and other interested parties to see what the best place is for that position. So, to be determined.
Alderwoman Finlayson, it doesn't mean that we only have one. We could have two. One for what you're talking about, and one within. If we got 130 or whatever we got, we can work with that and see. We can have one in both. I think it's an opportunity to do something really creative and novel that probably nowhere else, maybe in the country, might be doing. So it's just a thought.
Thanks.
Alderman Savage had his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to, for the good of the order here, express condolences to Alderwoman Pendel-Charles and also to Alderwoman Tierney for your losses today. I know it must have been tough to sit through this long meeting. So,
I always enjoy being with my friends here.
I think we got the answer here. I'm thinking now that I
And I just want one more thing for the good of the order. Let's just take a moment.
Alderman Savage.
Let's take a moment of silence for Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. Thank you all for your hard work. Good work on that, organizing all that stuff, Alderman Gay. You should be proud of yourself. And
I move that we adjourn.
Worked incredibly hard. Alderman Paone.
I move that we adjourn.
Can we get a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
My first budget. Hey.